Welcome to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
Are dreams just a reflection of our day, or do they have deeper meaning for our lives and futures? Does our own subconscious mind communicate with us through dreams? Can other consciousnesses communicate with us through dreams? Well, hello there. It's time for the 141st broadcast of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. I'm Paul, and I'm sorry to say that my son, co-host, and partner in the paranormal, Ben, has his prom this weekend, so he's pretty well busy and is taking the day off. Okay. But before we introduce our guest, I wanted, of course, to wish everyone a very happy Memorial Day weekend. We have a lot of overseas listeners, but Memorial Day is the day, sometimes called Remembrance Day in the Commonwealth nations, where we remember those who have fallen in battle defending our freedoms. And if certainly in America, we honor those who have done that here. And if you are in other countries and not speaking German or Japanese involuntarily as a second language, then you can thank our veterans as well as your own. And we honor all who have fallen today. Okay. Let's do our weekly paranormal contest. Steve Damaris from Smithfield, Rhode Island, got last week's question right. In what state is the so-called Haunted Canyon located? And the answer, of course, Arizona. And no, Ben did not visit it while he was in Arizona, as far as I know. This week's question is, in what state does the so-called, I love this name, Hillbilly Beast live? And that should be easy because Monster Quest just did a thing on that this past week. So if you're any kind of paranormal devotee and don't know the answer to that, well, I can't help you. Okay, call us locally, 401-766-1240, or nationally, 800-449-1240, or email us at Eno, E-N-O, just one spelled backwards, at onworldwide.com. If nobody gets it before the end of the show, drop a line to Ben at behindtheparanormal.com. The winner gets a copy of my latest book, Turning Home, God, Ghosts, and Human Destiny. And now it's time for today's guest. Making her second appearance on Behind the Paranormal, Mary Phelan is the co-host of the popular live metaphysical television show Telepathic TV, which airs in the Washington, D.C. area and on the Internet. She is internationally known as an author, intuitive reader, spiritual empowerment coach, dream researcher and interpreter, Saichim, again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, master teacher, EFT practitioner and hypnotist. Author of the Inner Wisdom Cards and Spirit Animal Cards, she is working on several books on these subjects as well. Mary recently joined the team at the new International Metaphysical University, where she is the Dean of the School of Intuitive Arts. She will be teaching a number of classes there also, the newest being Introduction to Dreams, Personal Symbology. Her website is www.telepathictv.com. And the IMU site is www.intermetu.com. Mary Phelan, welcome back to Behind the Paranormal.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. It's such a pleasure to be back.
Well, good to have you. So do dreams, these are Ben's questions. He always opens, but as I said, he's not with us today. So do dreams have any real importance?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, the Talmud says that a dream not interpreted is like a letter unread. And
I recall that. Yes, okay.
Yeah. Well, I also feel that every dream is important. I know a lot of the material that you read about dreams says that we have these clearing dreams. The short-term memory gets written to long-term memory when we are asleep, and they say, okay, a lot of dreams are just that kind of pollution being converted and things. But I have found that every single dream has a very important meaning, has a lot to tell us, and not to disregard it if it's not one of those really deep, deeply moving types of dreams. It's just that when we are writing short-term to long-term, we may utilize some of the symbols of our waking reality that day and not get tricked by that, but always look deeper.
Okay. All right, Mary, could we ask you to just talk a bit louder, please? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, right at the phone. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's a common problem. Now, an obvious question regarding dreams would be, half the time you wake up and you don't remember your dreams. But I suppose your answer might be that your subconscious does remember them. Am I right?
Yes, it does. Another thing about that, we have been trained to come back into waking reality, I don't say fall asleep and wake up. I say ascend asleep and fall awake because it's more accurate.
Okay.
And we have the alarm clock that really shatters that gradual incline from the dream time down to the wake time. And it just cuts it off like silly putty when you break it real quickly rather than stretching it. And so people do have a harder time recalling their dreams consciously. But you can always recall a mood, or you know what kind of mood you wake up in the morning. And that's always a good place to start if you can't remember your dreams. And
okay.
Just begin by interpreting that or any kind of impressions or memories that you wake up with. And allow yourself to stay in bed longer. Give yourself a few more minutes to wake up, and the memory of the dreams will get a lot better.
All right. Now, your approach to, and that of many dream experts is, well, I don't know, shall I say mystical as opposed to laboratory-oriented. We have the Maimonides laboratory in New Jersey at the hospital there, where some of the original dream research was done by Dr. Montague Ullman, people of that kind, sleep research, that sort of thing. What is the relationship between your work and the more lab-oriented scientific work that has looked into dreams? Do you go farther than they do with the symbols, or what? What's the relationship?
Yeah, I would say that I do. Yes, that's true. And I don't disregard any kind of laboratory information. I incorporate everything into my dream research, whatever makes sense. I have always felt that metaphysics precedes physics and science, and sometimes it takes them 20 years or so to catch up. Even quantum physics is a proof of that.
Yeah, some of the Greek philosophers agreed with that.
Yeah.
Okay. What relationship do you see between quantum physics and dreams? If anybody who listens to this show is probably an expert in quantum physics by now, but that's how Ben and I operate in the paranormal. It's pretty different. But in the matter of just generally, quantum physics is a relatively new branch of physics, meaning relatively new in the last century or so, that really goes beyond just the apple falling on Newton's head and things like this. It goes beyond basic day-to-day notions of physics and gets into the meaning of reality, how the universe really works, or the multiverse, as we sometimes say, parallel worlds sometimes, things of this kind. There are many different interpretations, but it's all pretty wild, especially at the subatomic level. So we can get into these things, and we will. It does have relevance to what we're talking about, dreams and things of this kind. Human consciousness has a great deal to do with quantum physics, most people believe. So just as a bit of an explanation. We're going to pause here for a second because we have a caller who believes he has the answer to our question.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to Behind the Paranormal.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And the question would be...
Okay. Oh, you didn't. Okay.
I've got the question. It's the hillbilly beast, right?
The hillbilly beast.
The hillbilly beast, state of Kentucky.
Absolutely correct. Okay, sir. If you would, could you? Okay, we're going to put you on hold, and the producer's going to get your name and address, and we're going to get your book out to you, or you can pick it up. Do you live in the area?
Oh, in Putnam.
In Putnam, Connecticut. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. We'll take your address and get the book out to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You saved us a lot of work. All week we have to watch for emails for people trying to guess at the things, and they're almost never right.
No,
well, congratulations.
I have a friend of mine from Kentucky, and oddly enough, we were discussing this morning.
I love the term hillbilly beast. Rolls right off the tongue.
Doesn't it, though?
Sure does.
It's a wonderfully euphonious appellation.
Indeed it is. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, back to Mary. Okay, we're a bit more subtle here than the hillbilly beast. We're talking about dreams with Mary Phelan of International Metaphysical University. So, Mary, we were going to talk a little bit about quantum physics and its relation to dreams.
Okay, well, I won't profess to be an expert on quantum physics, but I have read into it ever since my first taste of it back in the 80s, when it was the first bit of material I had ever read. And I would say one of the biggest things about, or the tie-ins between the two, is quantum physics shows us that it's a multidimensional universe, and that an answer in a newspaper and an answer in a dream don't have to override each other, and that everything exists multidimensionally. With that in mind, and you look at the dream as a multidimensional reality, and that things are going on there just as real as are going on here, and they're tied in and affect each other, well, you look at your dreams a lot more seriously.
Okay. You've opened up something that is really huge. I am often get frustrated calls and emails from people saying, where is your next book? It's been talked about since really the beginning of 2009, and it's called Dancing Past the Graveyard, What Ghosts Have to Say About God. And in the final chapter, I get into what I gingerly refer to as, building your own afterlife. Mm-hmm. And dreams play a very important role in that. Ben and I experiment a lot. He initially got involved with my work because first he was interested in it, and secondly, I had started a series of experiments on whether blood relatives have the same reactions in paranormal situations, whether you want to call it psychic or whatever, the same as stimuli, how it affects people who are blood relatives. And he and I I'm to the point where, after 40 years of paranormal research, I don't like to go on a case without him, because we've formed such a team now. And part of that has resulted from shared dreams. Mm-hmm. And there seems to be he at times says he does most of his important work in his sleep.
Absolutely.
So you seem to understand
right, kid.
that. Yeah, and I'm Dad's beginning to catch up, I think, too. We just, things come to us that are relevant not only to cases, but to our relationship with each other, to our vision of the world, to even to the theoretical upcoming TV series we're hoping to do, that we're supposed to do the pilot for next month, which will be the first show to bring in multiverse principles to paranormal research and to deal with all areas of the paranormal, not just UFOs or ghosts, but because the processes are the same.
Well, they are, and that's how the phenomenon of ghosts, quote unquote, happen.
Yeah, that's what we believe. Yeah,
and you hit the nail right on the head. We create our waking reality within the dream reality. The Aborigines believe that there is the dream time.
That's where I got the idea. A 7-hour conversation with an Aboriginal elder, and they usually don't talk a lot about some of this stuff, but he opened up to me.
Well, wonderful. But the belief that, or the reality, it's not, to me it's not a belief, but I'm sure to some people it would be, but that the wake time or the actual execution of the concept of the thought, of the decision, and the decision are not separate. So it's not like, okay, I have an idea of picking up a cup and drinking from it, and then I've got to use the law of attraction and manifest that action into reality.
Yeah.
That's where I feel the law of attraction can get to the point where it's the law of distraction that I wrote about in my blog, mm-hmm. because they're all one thing. So to dream of or to think of drinking that cup of water and drinking the cup of water are all one action, manifesting in different realities.
Okay,
and then when you start looking at it like that, then your dreams can absolutely be utilized to do that.
Okay. Can you explain the law of attraction for those who don't know what it is?
Well, to me, it's just the harmony that you send out is the harmony that gets created. So mm-hmm. if you are saying you don't have a lot of money, then that's the harmony that gets created. If you send out the idea that I can create anything, then that gets created.
Yeah, quantum physics is big on the idea that it's a fundamental principle of reality that we literally influence everything that we observe and interact with in a very concrete way. Hence the idea that you kind of create your own, you make your own bed, you kind of create your own reality, as it were.
You do, and the way I used to explain it many years ago before those books came out is imagine standing in a dark room filled with every possibility, and you have a miner's hat on. Whatever you look at is going to become illuminated, and you can't get that to become unilluminated by fighting with it and telling it to stop being illuminated. You have to look at what is not to be illuminated, and then the thing that you had been looking at fades into the darkness of potential rather than reality, which is the wave and the particle universes.
That's a very good analogy. I'm going to use that.
Okay.
Okay, but so let's get a little bit into the symbolism of dreams, because let me remind everyone too, it's a fascinating conversation. You know, not everybody sees ghosts or has a UFO experience, but everybody has dreams. So this conversation involves really anybody, and if anybody has any questions, please call in locally here in the southeastern New England, 401-766-1240, or anywhere else, 800, actually anywhere in the USA, 800-449-1240, and we can talk with Mary Phelan, our dream expert today. So, Mary, let's get a little bit into the symbolism of dreams, okay? Give us some examples of symbolism.
Okay, well, let me just back up just a tiny little bit here.
Yeah.
As far as symbolism, a lot of the dream dictionaries out there talk about, are really based on Freud's idea of symbols. Freud believed that all the symbolism in our dreams was based on repressed drive, which usually was sexuality or anger. And, yeah, that can be in there, too, but it's much more than that. And thank Carl Jung for taking that to the step further.
Thank heaven for Jung, yeah.
Yeah, and we have a lot of common symbolism in our dreams, but for the most part, everybody's dreams, the symbolism in their dreams are highly personal. If I had slipped on a banana peel as a kid and hurt my elbow, if I dream of a banana peel, that's going to be a completely different message than somebody that thinks of cute monkeys jumping around and connects that with banana peels. So in my class at the university, I really go in and help people to create their own meanings to their own symbols. Now what happens is when our brain or our subconscious mind is communicating with us, it's extremely brilliant the way things come forth. For instance, I had a dream one time where I was concerned about being prepared for this certain class or something I was doing. And in the dream, everywhere I sat, a slice of wedding cake, you know, the white cake with the white icing, was on a paper plate, and it kept, like, sliding into me when I sat down and would get on the side of my pants, and I'd clean it off, and next place I sat, there it was again. And it wasn't until I was writing in my dream journal that I realized what it was saying to me is that this is a piece of cake. And so it's so brilliant. I have interpreted so many thousands of dreams over my lifetime. I've been doing this since I was a kid. People have always brought their dreams to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating how the subconscious speaks. So our symbolism is a literal symbolism, or literal, and then it can be a symbolic representation.
Yeah. I'm no dream expert, but, obviously experience it a lot, and I'm very comfortable with the way you put that. It seems that the one-size-fits-all approach that many books take is not good enough, mm-hmm. And I'm always using that expression on this show to, apply to paranormal theories that are popular and all. But they aren't good enough. It seems that it is personal. I think even a lot of people I've spoken with who come clean on their dreams, and we'll talk about it freely, will have things that mean similar dreams to each other or to me or to Ben, and they will have entirely different meanings that have come out of them. So it does seem to be very personal. Let me ask you this, and this is a question Ben was going to ask, and I'm quoting, I sometimes feel that I'm meditating while dreaming. And he wanted me to ask if you would run into that sort of thing. He's very big on meditation.
He feels like he's meditating within the dream?
Within the dream, yeah.
Well, that's very interesting because I have done a lot of lucid dreaming and all kinds of dreaming experiments. I've done that with groups of people and myself. And I found there was a certain point where within a dream, I could go into other realms. And
mm-hmm.
so what he's doing is really accessing deeper and deeper reality.
That's what he believes, yeah.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. He's one of the very few people I've ever heard of that have done that.
Yeah, well, he has a shaman, full-blooded Aztec shaman, who's a very good friend of ours, and we've worked with him on one case already. He's absolutely amazing, and Ben is just getting to know him well, and they're going to be meditating together, and I think that this is going to prepare him very well for what we're going to be doing on this show, at least partially, and I think that I'm very pleased as a parent with where he's going. I suppose that I'm an unusual parent, but I think it's marvelous. So I know exactly what he's talking about, and that's, as I say, that's why he says he feels he often does his best work when he's asleep.
Yeah,
and that's why. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I've even created a database in my left brain reality world. I was a computer person, and I had this really big computer database to design, and I did not have a lot of resources. This is back when databases were first coming out for everyday use. And I went to sleep that night, woke up with the intention to come up with a solution, and woke up in the middle of the night and wrote out the whole table structure and went to work that day, and no bugs in it. And it was very complex. It wasn't a simple little database.
Okay.
So the dreams, everything that I cannot figure out with my waking mind, I take to my larger mind that has access to all information.
Excuse me. And I'm getting over pneumonia. So.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So anyway, thank God I'm all right. But that makes a lot of.
Over it.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. That makes a great deal of sense what you just said, because I'm thinking of the way we approach the paranormal, of course, is this multiverse idea. And if you take quantum physics to its logical or illogical conclusion, there is the idea that we exist in, or at least have access to, all these different worlds, as you say, and the knowledge therein. And it seems to me that having, I guess, specialized in theology and philosophy for most of my academic life, that's the nature of spiritual growth, is to access, the more worlds you access where you're already living, and the wisdom you have there, or the inexperience you have there, or whatever, all possibilities exist, and then the wiser your super life, as I call it, becomes. Your mass life. Now, the danger here is something that I ran into in psychiatric hospitals as a seminarian and as a grad student. And that's that in our society, with its blinders on, materialistic approach and sort of a vague but pretty much non-existent idea of multiverse living, that people like this are often considered crazy rather than holy.
Yeah.
And in past societies, such as the Aborigines, this sort of thing, the people were considered holy. And in our society, they used to lock them up. Now they just fill their pockets full of antipsychotic pills. And there were people I would run into in psychiatric hospitals, particularly in upstate New York, where I worked as a student. And these people had access to all sorts of marvelous, or sometimes horrible, worlds where they were actually living lives. And the whole phenomena of the dissociative identity syndrome, the multiple personalities, as it's called, is often a perfect example of that. What say you? What have you run into in that regard?
Well, what's really interesting, I agree with you 100%, and I've seen that many, many times. And I've worked with a lot of people with schizophrenia and bipolar and various conditions. And one way I look at it is that, let's say our pineal gland, which is the faculty with which we really do have our visualizations. People think, oh, third eye, mystical, psychic. Everybody uses it. If you've ever had a dream, you've used your third eye, quote unquote. Well, I feel that the pineal gland really is this radio dial that tunes into whatever frequency. And for instance, when we go to sleep, the pineal gland converts the serotonin to melatonin, so we don't act out our dreams, so that our body doesn't go run and act in that dream world. Well, I feel the people, the mystics, that have no support for this because nobody knows how to do it, have a radio dial that gets tuned in maybe to multiple stations, and their body doesn't get the clue from the pineal gland to say, this isn't happening in the physical reality, I'm going to paralyze you, as the melatonin does when we go to sleep. And so they're acting and having conversations and acting in realities that aren't in the physical reality, but they are there. Native cultures, if somebody hears voices when they're growing up, they say, this is a gifted person. Let's teach them how to close the door and focus consciously in these realities. But you're right, when people are medicated, they have less faculty to do that.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a commercial break now. We'll be right back here on Behind the Paranormal with Mary Phelan and our deep conversation on dreams. Stay with us.
New River Press is proud to sponsor tonight's segment of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Benjamin Eno. New River Press offers the best in unusual New Age books. Stand by the side of tonight's host, Paul Eno, as he battles poltergeists and helps suffering souls and families in the critically acclaimed books Faces at the Window and Footsteps in the Attic. Plunge deeper into the paranormal with Paul and learn about its influence on human history, its action in our daily lives, and its ultimate meaning for us in the best-selling Turning Home, God, Ghosts, and Human Destiny. Available now from New River Press, publishers of unusual books. Visit newriverpress.com, amazon.com, or your favorite bookstore. And set for release late this year in one of the most unusual books on the subject ever written, Paul gives us Dancing Past the Graveyard, What Ghosts Have to Say About God.
Okay, we're back now with Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno, minus the Ben today, tied up with his prom this weekend. And we're talking with Mary Phelan of the International Metaphysical University, and we're talking today about dreams, their meaning, their symbolism, what they can do for us, and things of this kind. Now, Mary, there's a question I've always wondered about, and we've never had the time to ask. We haven't had that many dream experts on the show, and we haven't had time to ask this question when we have. And that's, in your opinion, does it matter where you're sleeping?
Yes.
Does that affect your dreams at all?
As a matter of fact, excellent question, and no one's really asked me that before, even though I've told people the answer to this question a lot.
Yeah.
It matters greatly. For instance, I had a guy come to a dreams class many years ago, and he was talking about nightmares, these violent dreams, and he couldn't figure it out. So I asked him about his sleep space and everything, and come to find out he had an antique sword under his bed. And I had him remove it from under his bed, and his nightmares went away.
Very interesting.
Our bedroom and our energy lines, and this is something else that I teach people in the dreaming classes, is how to find certain types, all the different types of energy lines and influences in your sleep space. Even a river underground, 1,200 feet, if it's converging with another force underground, can create a dynamic in your sleep space. I've helped thousands of people get relief from insomnia by looking at some of the energy dynamics in their room. And it will influence the frequency that you vibrate, and the frequency that you're vibrating on will influence the frequency of the universe that you go into in the dream time.
But we could be siblings here because we have encountered very similar situations. We're always laughing at a lot of the gadgets, the ghost hunting groups, a term I don't even like, running around with them, and they generally don't understand them, and the readings can be caused by all sorts of different things. However, one of the few uses for technology, I shouldn't say few uses for technology, a few uses for some of that kind of technology, is to tell what sort of energies, or at least get clues about what sort of energies are in areas where you're sleeping. And people have often said, just as you said, I've had these hideous nightmares, or there was even a case where puppies were dying. They were getting sick. I said, move the darn thing, 10 feet across the room. And sure enough, it helped. The dreams got better, the nightmares disappeared, and this sort of thing, because they were off the site where these energies, which are ultimately, as geotechnic, were coming up out of the ground.
Absolutely.
And as you say, underground streams and this sort of thing, this is all relevant. And people look at me, and it's relevant to paranormal cases in general, and the interaction of different universes being easier in some areas than it is in others. Thinning membranes or brains, BRANES, as they say. It's all relevant. So what you say really hits the nail on the head. So where you sleep really does make a difference.
It does. And you brought up a very good point, and I feel this way, that science, some of the logical, this is an energy line, this is water underneath a flowing river, all of these things influence, and many people that research paranormal subjects or avenues discount anything from the physical reality as if it's the enemy. And what we're really looking for is that multi-universe, as you're saying, the universe, the one universe, uniting all the different realities, because anything that exists in one reality is existing in a counterpart in another reality. Even if that other reality is based on a different fundamental principle. So it's good to look at everything, for sure.
Now, we tend to be suspicious guys, okay? Maybe it's a guy thing, but we are always talking about being wary and cautious about spirit guides and all these things. Don't immediately think that if something seems to be contacting you, whether in a dream or in any other way, that it's telling the truth. Because half the time it isn't. I mean, sometimes, it all depends. But certain caution should be taken and tests made. So in your experience, how often do other consciousnesses contact us through our own dreams?
Well, I would say that there are a lot of answers to that, mainly because we go into different planes of existence. in a lot of our dreams. I'm going to propose, though, for the most part, everything in our dream is us. And the way I look at it is a placenta. The mother's blood circulates through the placenta, drops off nutrients. The baby's blood circulates through there, picks it up. But the blood does not mix. And I feel that in certain stages of dreaming, particularly if people aren't trained or conscious of it, at least in their conscious remembrance of dreams, where a spirit guide would influence them on that level that you're talking about, that it is usually dropping off communication and we're picking it up. As we open up and become more educated, I think that the placenta aspect can go away a bit. And so in that way, we can still get influenced by other beings, but ultimately it's our own training to get us to the point where we don't have to have that filter anymore. Everything in your dreams is a gift and teaching you about you, even if it's the worst possible creature there.
Yeah, because
as a matter of fact, I was in a dream. I used to have these horrible, like, devil dreams after I saw The Exorcist many years ago. And one day I woke up and it was the last time I had one of those dreams, and I heard doors. There's always a door. And then I was shown that the door exists behind every monster in your dream, and it's to confront it so that then the door opens up and you go into the next echelon of your spiritual wisdom. And a good example of that is many years ago, a young intern working where they only get 4 hours sleep, was having nightmares, so he went to a sleep clinic because he kept dreaming of this tarantula chasing him, or this huge spider. So they suggested that he turn and face it in his dream. And when he did, it turned into the faces of all the patients that had died, that he did not have the detox time in the dream time to metabolize. We metabolize and detox body, mind, spirit, and emotions in the dream. And if we don't have enough time for that, the dreams become very loud and scream at us in forms that make us pay attention to it. It's the fact of getting more sleep. So
okay.
So the so-called monsters are still a message, and you can walk through them.
All right. How do we? It seems there seem to be different kinds of dreams. Precognitive dreams, dreams in which you see things that may happen and sometimes do. Things of this kind. What kinds of dreams have you identified in your experience?
Well, one thing that I've noticed is that varies for people. For instance, if I were to go to the library and I'm really interested in weaving rugs and scuba diving, then I am going to have I'm going to be checking out a lot of books on those subjects. So people vary in their levels of dreams. One thing I've noticed that people, where they're consciously exploring their spirituality or their multidimensional selves, will have those travel dreams, those meditation dreams like you were talking, Ben has, lucid dreams, and they'll get a lot more of those sorts of dreams. It really is directly connected to what you would like to research. If you look at your dream time as this great opportunity to go into the library of all things, then you start consciously controlling that. But I have found in my own existence that I have really high-level spiritual dreams, and they usually are connected to a beach or a high-flying craft of some sort. And then I have another sort of dream that I can identify as a healing dream, where I get physical remedies for myself and things.
That was my next question. What kind of dreams do you have? Okay, so, all right. Let me share some of the dreams Ben and I share. At the risk of having the guys in white coats descend on the studio here. And this I didn't deliberately prepare. I meditate too, but not as much as Ben does. But I'd say 95% of the dreams I remember. And I have a very odd sleep schedule, which I developed when I was a member of the working press in a newspaper, a major metropolitan daily newspaper, where you put out the paper the night before and you get up with the kids in the morning, you kind of sleep in the afternoon. And I still do that, much to the annoyance of my long-suffering wife. But so I tend to remember a lot of dreams because I have a broken sleep schedule. And the ones I remember, 95% of them are lucid. 95%. I have absolute command, okay, over what's going on. And there is, I'd say half the dreams that I have involve what Ben and I call the good world. Okay? This is a rather Earth-like place, but the colors are extremely deep. Everything is more real, almost, than it is here. We live in a very nice sort of a country house, and with a near the sea, and everything's very pleasant. Everything is alive. You can feel the life in everything. And probably one of the most important things that happen is that we relax and we kind of enjoy. My whole family's there. We kind of enjoy ourselves. But there began to be lights in the sky, not like UFOs, but flashing lights here and there, as you sometimes will see, in this world. And there is it goes beyond political. A sort of a creature, an animal of very positive nature, who comes to visit us once in a while, and who is, I suppose, a sort of king or emperor, but a sort of priest also. Sort of all things are summed up in this creature, very benign, lion-like kind of a creature. Very down to earth, very comes with sort of this entourage, and we will have long meetings. Sometimes just the two of us, in which he's explaining things. And I never remember what is said. It's very frustrating. Except for one thing. And he said the lights in the sky are people, and almost everyone can fly in this world. And again, as I say, it sounds completely crazy, but this is what happens in my dream. And they, including our own family, will sometimes rise into the sky at night, and the lights are the contact with other worlds where we are helping our descendants, our ancestors, other people we don't know, in some way or other. I suppose being, if you want, what to them would be spirit guides, even though we're entirely physical. And to me, it's rather, it dawned on me, because, this is a rather brilliant expression of the multiverse, where we live in a world where we can kind of reach across and give a hand to each other, because it's all one big world. It's all it's not a closed system, and we have to help each other in this world, and by extension we help each other across all the world. Ben and I do it all the time in cases with ghosts, and so it all kind of fell together. I said, this is not crazy at all. This is a rather magnificent expression of what reality really is.
Oh, yeah.
So crazy as it may sound.
Well,
I mean, what say you to all that? I mean, you ever heard of that before?
I have, not that specifically, but I would say versions of that, yes.
Okay, yeah.
And I feel that when we go into the dream state, what we're doing is saying, okay, I'm going to stop pretending that I'm only in this universe for a little while, and then you go into the expanse of everything, and you can literally travel anywhere and do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I have had I have had a death experience in physical reality. It wasn't particularly dramatic, but the death experiences that I've had in the dream time have been phenomenal, where I was shown exactly what it feels like, and a lot of nuance to the death process that I had never known prior. I've gone to all kinds of different worlds and talked with different people, and I do a lot of conscious direction in my dreams before I go to sleep. Like, for instance, I decided I wanted to dream with Gandhi one night, and he showed up, and I learned all kinds of things about Gandhi that I'd never known.
Well, that's cool.
By reading biographies about him. So there is that spillover where we can interact.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal.
Well, it kind of leaves one in awe. I mean, I love to. I have no fear about going to sleep at night. I certainly have these interesting experiences. Not every night, but it happens often enough. And you almost hesitate to talk about. Now, people are used to what I do when I get up and lecture about all kinds of crazy things. But that's it's a very personal thing to talk about your dreams.
Yeah.
And of course, Ben is often there. Sometimes he will remember certain parts of the dream that I don't remember, and it's really quite quite interesting to have him sort of fill in the gaps, or me fill in the gaps, whatever. But again, I've often heard that the more one meditates, the more one will have lucid dreams. Is that true in your experience?
I would say yes. The thing about meditation is it really breaks down a lot of those barriers prior. People that aren't really open to the idea of a multidimensional universe have a little bit, I would say, a tougher time doing the lucid dreaming and things like that because of their belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that they're not doing lucid dreaming, it's that they're not remembering it. I look at lucid dreaming as you're experiencing the dream in real time, instead of having it go through a block of awareness and then having that awareness reach out and remember it. And when you're experiencing it live, then you can do something about it. You can make changes.
Mm-hmm. Let me just back up a bit, and just
sure.
In case anybody doesn't know what lucid dreaming is, lucid dreaming means dreaming in which you know that you're dreaming. And that knowledge can contribute to a certain amount of control over what you're dreaming and that sort of thing. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. As a matter of fact, for people listening, and most people probably have had lucid dreaming or an opportunity to and may not have recognized it. If you've ever been in a dream and you say, I've been here, I've dreamed of this place before, that's an opportunity to go into your lucid dream.
Mm-hmm.
And you're lucid in that moment if you're remembering having been there before. And It's really a matter of building that bridge, and meditation is that bridge to connect with that part of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because our conscious mind is totally aware every moment when we are asleep, and our dream self, the one that can travel multidimensional universes, are with us 24 hours a day as well in our wake time.
Okay.
And
that's funny you should bring that up, because my next question, what is the difference between daydreaming and night dreaming?
None at all. As a matter of fact, in my dream interpretation class, which will be available through IMU in the not-too-distant future, we go through techniques where you can create certain dreams or daydreams and use them to interpret situations in your life, and there's no difference at all.
Not that I want to encourage
isn't.
Ben to start daydreaming as he's beginning college next September, but
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we're daydreaming constantly.
Sure.
It's just our conscious mind. Sometimes we allow it to drift over and we pay attention to it. But
Mm-hmm.
the dreams go on 24 hours a day.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I hear you. Okay, now we've talked about how other entities or people or whatever creatures can influence our dreams. Can we influence their dreams?
As a matter of fact, yes. Now, I know that it sounds like I'm contradicting what I said earlier about the placenta and everything, but there are certain planes of existence that we can consciously or unconsciously go into where we can interact. I did dreaming with a friend of mine many years ago, and he was having these horrible nightmares. And there is a culture that is so into dreaming that they send buddies in when people have nightmares. So I thought, well, I'm going to go in and help him out. This was way back early in my research. So I go to sleep that night, and I went into a dream, and he was swirling in this blackness. He was in a bed, and he was swirling in this blackness, and I was reaching through this tornado-like energy, reached for his hand, and grabbed it, and pulled him out. And he woke up that next morning, and he had the exact dream and the experience of what I had done. I didn't even tell him my dream. I let him speak first. And he said, I dreamed you came in. I was swirling in this energy that he dreams of every night, and that you pulled me out. And he didn't have any nightmares after that. But I have often consciously gone in and dreamed with people that in the advanced dreaming course that I teach, we do a lot of dreaming experiments, and have had many people meet up in the dream time.
Interesting. Okay.
But we still are always in control over our interaction with other people.
All right. Okay, now I'm sure that a lot of people are listening there and are very interested in what we're saying, but saying, well, where do I begin? How do I start training myself to do this? Or I'm having this dream and I don't understand what it's about, or I'm scared. Where do people begin? I mean, I can see people who might be interested in this, but might be floundering around. Where do you begin to? Where is the first base?
First base is getting your dream journal, and I know we're not talking about the interpretation piece now, but the dream journal really is like your travel log into these other realms. And so it signals your conscious mind to start taking seriously this other reality, because our beliefs will often disconnect us from it. And if you start there to build that awareness and belief in the validity of it, then you will be more conscious when you go in there. And as far as becoming conscious within the dream, after you've already been dreaming, there's techniques to remain conscious when you enter into the dream time. But to become conscious within the dream, if you ever have, like I was saying earlier, an awareness that you've been there before, let that be the signal for you to say, hey, I'm dreaming. And this really will work. And another technique that I read many years ago in some book, I don't remember what it was, but I did it. Maybe it was a Carlos Castaneda book or something. Probably not, because it was about painting your nails a bright color. And guys, you don't have to do that. You can wear a ring on your hand or something.
Thank you.
And look at your hands before you go to sleep. And then go into the dream time with an intention. That's another thing. We take our conscious mind into the dream time with us, and we talked about that a little bit ago. We can take the intention into the dream time. We do take it in all the time. That's a given. So if you are intending to have a lucid dream, look at your hands within the dream, and you will. Or you can have, every time you see a pencil in your dream, you will become lucid. It begins in the wake time, suspending disbelief and allowing that intention to flow into the dream time consciously with you. And it will just begin of its own. The conscious mind knows how to get it to work inside the dream.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And it leads me right into, I suppose it's more in the way of a story, but, some people might be sitting out there listening to this or have turned off the show because they think it's too nuts or crazy. Well, it's crazy until it happens to you. And I'm thinking of when I was in the U.S. Coast Guard, we were at sea, and there was one particular bosun's mate who was, one of the, 6-7 feet tall, 300-pound, linebacker type. The last person in the world you'd think would have any kind of paranormal experience or would accept such a thing. And people knew at the time that I was interested in paranormal phenomena, and people would sometimes ask questions. But this guy started having dreams that he said had to do with me. And it was really kind of strange. I had my little office, and I was the public affairs officer on the ship, and he came in, and he said, I don't know how to tell you this. He'd never known me before this cruise, and I was in the reserve, so I wasn't, I was just on this one cruise. And he said, I started having these dreams about things you're supposed to do. And I said, am I going nuts? And I said, well, no, not necessarily. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But as he began to talk about his dreams, they indicated the knowledge of me that he could not possibly have had. I hadn't really written much yet. I had a couple of small books he never would have seen in the 70s. And he just went on about certain things that have come true since then. So he was having, this total stranger was having precognitive dreams kind of about me. And he said, I never would have accepted this stuff until it started happening to me. You know, and, macho guy and this kind of thing, big tough bosun's mate, deck kind of guy who, throws the small boats over the side and catches whales. Well, no, the Coast Guard didn't do that. But you know what I'm saying. And I mean, have you run into people to whom this is entirely unexpected and are bowled over by it?